Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? If we could come to order, please. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone, for attending. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First thing is pledge allegiance to our flag. Please stand and join me. And the flag is over there. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everyone. Please be seated. Renee, if you'd call the roll, please.
Good evening. Renee Manita for the roll call. Karen Andrus. Present. Carl Baracco.
Present, but Mr. Chairman, I'd like to note that I will be leaving exactly at 6 o'clock p.m. this evening.
All right, thank you. So noted.
Derek Botana is absent. Joseph Cruz is absent. Reginald Cruz is absent. Ron Inge.
Present.
Christy Knight is absent. Matthew Lincolnhall.
Present.
John Paul is absent. Chris Robin. Here. Elaine Sarlo has resigned. Sawyer Smith is absent. Shane Spring.
Present.
Andrew Sund.
Present.
And Bridget Thoreau. Present. That's a quorum.
Thank you very much. The first item of business is the approval of our minutes from our May 15th meeting. Has the committee had a chance to review those, and are there any comments, corrections, or is there a motion for approval, please?
I'll move approval.
I second.
We have a motion by Mr. Baracco, second by Mr. Spring for approval of May minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That carries unanimously. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is item 5A, which is nomination 631, Grafrano, 10 acres, Pine Island, Flatwood area, with a score of 41. Mr. Clemens, please.
Good evening, all. This particular request is to approve the purchase agreement for the subject property. It's a 10-acre tract of land. The purchase price is $50,000. The appraised value was $100,000. However, in staff's analysis of the appraisal, we felt that the $50,000 price was more indicative of this area. Over the last couple of years, we've purchased a couple of properties near this that were less than the $100,000, so that explains why we initially came out with the $50,000 recommendation. The property appraiser will pay for title insurance and closing costs. County will pay for an environmental assessment and survey.
Thank you very much.
I should say also, this piece of property is on Pine Island. It's on the east side of Stringfellow, south of Pine Island Road.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
That's all.
All right, would anyone on the committee care, do you have any questions? Karen,
I would
please.
just like to point out that this is Conservation 2020 property all around it. And so to me, it only makes sense that we make a recommendation to go forward with this.
I still make the motion to move forward with the purchase.
Second. Okay, before we vote, I want to take public input. For members of the public, I have a number of cards here. I haven't gone through them all, but many of them are on an item later on the agenda. But if anyone would like to speak on item 5A, nomination 631, please come forward. A couple things to keep in mind. One is whoever might have a cell phone that's turned on, please silence it. Dance music playing right in the middle, because then we're all going to have to get up and dance if that happens. And your time, please identify yourself, speak clearly into the microphone, because this is being transmitted to another overflow room, and we want to make sure the folks over there hear us adequately. And also, you're limited to 3 minutes for your comments, 3 minutes. So would anyone care to speak on nomination 631, Pine Island's Flatwoods? If so, please come forward up to the microphone and identify yourself. Seeing none, we'll move forward. We have a motion and a second to move forward with the acquisition. We each individually have to vote on this unless. Could you please repeat the first and second of the motion, sir? Mr. Baracco made the motion and Mr. Spring seconded.
No, I made the motion. Mr. Sun seconded it.
Oh, that was on the minutes.
That was on the minutes.
Didn't I do something?
Well, you just said that you wanted to move it forward. I didn't know you were making a motion, so.
Oh, okay.
See, I've already messed up the first most important item of the We're going to take a voice vote. If it's unanimous, it'll be easier, but if not, we'll have to vote individually. So we have a motion and a second to recommend acquisition. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. And that's unanimous. Renee, I think you can mark that down. All righty, the next item is 6A, nomination 650, 11,400, Orange River LLC. It's 129.5 acres out in the Buckingham area. Staff has had a chance to take a look at that. We're going to ask Mr. Clemens to give us a report, and I'd ask the committee to hold off any motion or anything until we get a chance to hear from the public and so forth. So, Mr. Clemens, if you would, sir.
Yes, item 650 is about 129-acre tract of land. It's at the southeast quadrant of the intersection of Orange River and Staley Road. The property scored 64 points. It has many attributes that are desired for a Conservation 2020 parcel. I won't read the scoring, but in general, it has plant and animal habitat that is scored well. It also has potential for the BMAP, which is the county's ability to, if they so desire, to make it part of a plan to reduce the nitrogen level or the contaminant level, so to speak, in the river, because there's one of the main drainage outfalls for the general area traverses through this property. And I don't know if Roland has any comment as to that being, it's an additional benefit.
It's part of the title CLASAC watershed and has its current CMDL and a basin management action plan, and we made improvements that reduce total nitrogen in CLASAC.
And there is gopher tortoise activity on the site as well. Staff recommends to proceed with, recommending to the board to proceed with acquisition activity of this parcel.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from staff? How about the committee? Any questions of staff regarding nomination 650, 11,400 Orange River LLC, 129 acres? If so, Karen, please.
Can I make a motion?
No, ma'am. Well, you can, but let's hold off until we see how much, or what our public input might be, if we could. Anyone have any questions of staff before we move forward?
I do.
Mr. Spring.
Robert, is this all fenced? I'm looking at the overhead on my phone just to see, is it fenced?
At this time, there is fencing around the perimeter of the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
And was this row crops or was this a cattle pasture?
I think it was,
It looks like row, that's why I'm asking.
I think there may have been cows on it, but it looks like it has been farmed over the years. I just say that because I lived in this neighborhood for 30 years. It also has, if you look down in the southerly portion of the property, there's a cypress head and more wetland-type characteristics in that area. Also, to the south of this property, we already own some Conservation 2020 property that runs, if you look in the center, that's a FP&L transfer station. That's one of the main transmission lines run through this area and from the power plant south, and about a mile south of Homestead Lane here, the county owns property that connects to a larger tract of land to the headwaters of 6 Mile Cypress Preserve. So there's already a corridor that kind of leads through this area as well.
Is that this lane right here?
Renee, can you go to the next? There you go.
There you go.
That'll show it better. Thank you.
So where you see Luckett Road in green, from there south, the county owns property that connects to 6 Mile Cypress Preserve. And on the north side of State Road 82, the county owns, I think it's about 1,200 acres on the north side of 82, due south of this. So there's connectivity in the form of this power line easement that is created as well.
Andrew?
So, for any of the water projects or the potential use, is there a need to also acquire additional land, or would the power easement be sufficient for any purposes that you would be hoping to use the property for?
The power easement would not allow us to do anything in that. We don't own the property. In that yellow, there's a separate property owner. I'm just saying that there's somewhat of a corridor that's created with these power line easements because the power companies want to keep that open so they can maintain the power line system.
But to follow up on Mr. Sun's question, is it essentially you're wondering what kind of conveyance we're going to use to get to the water there, because we can't dig out underneath the power line and have as a swale, can we?
There's an existing drainage facility that runs along that area. I don't know how far south that runs, if it runs all the way to 82 or not, but there's that drainage ditch that runs in the general area of this subject property. Or what, I think it kind of went through the middle, didn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
there's a ditch.
I'm looking
in
at
the middle, then it kind of terminates at Luckett Row, where you kind of a flat area, it kind of the headwaters of 6 Mile Cypress Slough, and then it heads north from there all the way to, we're trying to make improvements all the way to the Orange River, further downstream of this property.
So that drainage easement runs from that southerly point to the river.
So this property is useful in its current form with no need to acquire any additional properties south for the purposes that the county sort of sees fit. I could understand maybe there's a benefit if we were to acquire more, but it is useful in its current state.
It is useful in its current state. However, it is desirable to purchase lands to the north for better connection to the Orange River down the road, that if we need to increase the capacity of the system, that we would be able to do that. But there is certainly an existing drainage way that works, but it functions on its own right now. But we plan on, at least hope to plan to enhance that feature.
Thank you, good questions. Any further questions of staff? All righty. Folks, I have a number of cards. As I mentioned earlier, you have 3 minutes to speak, but I'm going to give you an option if you'd like. You've heard the staff's report that they're in favor of recommending that this move forward. You've heard Mr. Wadlini talk about the fact that it can stand on its own to help serve some of the drainage purposes that we might need for the county for water quality and what have you. Those are all positive factors, of course. I'm not presupposing what the committee is going to do, but if you would like the option of not speaking for your time, I'll call your name, and if you're in full support, please wave your hand, and then we'll yield to the next speaker, maybe save a bit of time. Your option, but just wanted to give you that opportunity. So I'm going to read the cards in the order that I received them, and I'll read the name of who is first and then who follows after that, so you can kind of get ready and so forth. Everybody okay with that? Committee okay? All righty. First is Terry Lodge, followed by Donald Lewis. Thank you, sir. And then Margot Elmore after that.
Do we just have them either waive in support or opposition? I'm assuming it's all in support, but just probably for the record's sake.
You mean everybody at once?
No, if they're going to waive their time, just state.
Yeah, he did and waved his hand in support, and I'll read that when I get to his card. Yes, ma'am. Please use the microphone up there, Ms. Lodge.
Thank you. My name is Terry Lodge. I appreciate the fact that we're here and we're talking about the parcel. And I want you to know what an integral part of the community it is and the benefit to the county as well. And the question that the gentleman asked there, it is a standalone property. If you didn't buy there during the rainy season that we just had, the amount of support of the water flow that's there is great. There's a huge number of animals for the Florida Wildlife Association has documented there, and we would like to see that continue, and we really appreciate your support and all the great things that 2020 does. So thank you.
Thank you very much. If you would, folks, kind of hold your applause too, because otherwise we might be a little longer than we think. Mr. Donald Lewis earlier said he waived his opportunity to speak, but he waved his hand in support, so please let the record note that. Thank you, sir. Margot Elmore, followed by Cheryl Fisher.
Hello, my name's Margot Elmore. I prepared a little statement. I'm in favor of the decision. I support the decision in favor of acquisition. This is an environmentally sensitive land. I live in Buckingham. An acquisition will help protect the ecology and preserve the historic rural character of Buckingham. Conservation 2020 is a tremendous program, and this opportunity for acquisition represents land stewardship at its very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheryl Fisher, followed by Richard Aiken.
Good afternoon. I'm Cheryl Fisher. I'm actually Community Association. I'm on the board of directors. We have been fighting hard for this piece of property for over 3 years, which I'm sure a lot of you are well aware of. So as you can see, we have a huge support of people who really want to see this property conserved. There's a lot of unique features about that property. There's a lot of ecosystems. There are a lot of endangered animals. There's fox squirrels, there's gopher tortoises. We've got swallowtail kites. I mean, you name it. We see animals there all the time. One of the things I would like you to consider too when we're talking about gopher tortoises is we are in dire need right now of recipient sites due to all the massive construction out in East Lee County. There's only 2 right now. I know they're starting one in Alva out near Babcock Ranch, but it is dire. Everywhere in my neighborhood, there's been 4 destroyed, one's dead on the road. I mean, it's constant, and the construction is out of control and just burrowing these things. One of the things I research on FWC site is an advantage to the county is, number 1, you have less relocation sites and they're contained into one, and number 2 is you can apply for assistance from the state of Florida to help manage that property as well. So I think gopher tortoises are a big deal. We've already just came out with a license plate they're trying to get passed, and the public really cares about gopher tortoises right now. So that would be another additional thing you could do with that property in addition to a lot of other things as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Richard Aiken, followed by Don Blackburn, and then Patty Heafley after that. Or Heafley, I may have mispronounced.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Richard Aiken. I'm an attorney at Henderson Franklin here in Fort Myers. I'm here this afternoon representing the property owner, which is 11400 Orange River LLC. And the property owner has put this property forward for consideration by Conservation 2020. I'm here if there's any questions that any of you have. I know you've heard from staff, and I think they did a good job explaining some of the characteristics of the property. I will tell you it's 129.6 acres. It does have frontage on both Orange River Boulevard and Staley Road, as you can see outlined in red there. It's got an RPD zoning on it currently. It also has this conveyance going through it, and there was another slide. Could we maybe go back to the close-up slide? Because some of the questions about the conveyance might be answered here. So the conveyance basically runs exactly where that blue line is that runs right through the middle of the property. You can see it there. And one of the things about that is that the county actually did a study. It was called the Strayhorn study, and it had to do with how the county can improve drainage in this area. And one of the things that it determined is that there's the ability to improve drainage by changing some culvert sizes both upstream and downstream of this property, which ultimately flows to the north into the Orange River, or into the Orange River. So ultimately, I think the opportunity to improve drainage, and not only drainage but possibly water quality, is there for the county should it choose to acquire this property. One other thing I want to point out is that there is 11.5 acres of wetlands, which you can see is the area where there's the wooded portion right there on Staley Road. There's a cypress dome right there, and so that's approximately 11.5 acres of wetlands. So there is that ecologically sensitive area. So that's all I have at this moment, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions anyone has as a representative of the property owner, if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Aiken.
Thank you.
Don Blackburn, followed by Patricia Heafley or Heafley. Again, I apologize for mispronouncing.
Hi, thank you. Appreciate giving us the opportunity. Cheryl had mentioned a while ago that we had been working hard on this piece of property for the last 3 years, which is absolutely true. But I just wanted to let, for the people that did know, we've actually, the Buckingham residents in the community have actually been working on this property for the last 30 years. We've been to many meetings, county commissioner meetings, hearing examiner meetings, zoning meetings, several times in the last 30 years. And finally, this has come up to where it's something we're all really excited about and happy about, because this is kind of what we've been looking for in Buckingham. You know, This property is encompassed by the Rural Community Preserve. And the Rural Community Preserve is the only one in Lee County is in Buckingham. And the key word here that we like to think is preserve. So we're hoping that and happy that you all are entertaining this, and we really are hoping that you all will move this thing forward, and hopefully one day it will become part of the 2020 preserved property in the county. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Patricia Heafley, followed by Linda Mulaison. Patricia Heafley. Please note that Patty Heafley raised her hand in support. Please let the record reflect that. Linda Mulaison, followed by Deborah Reifmeyer. Okay, Linda Mulaison indicated her support. Thank you very much, ma'am. I use the last name. Yes, ma'am. I know. There you go. Okay. Please note that Ms. Culp Reifmeyer is in support as well and yielded her time. Thank you, ma'am. You have to go to the microphone and speak, ma'am.
My name is Debbie Culp Reifmeyer. You're the owner? I don't know if the owner's here, but I would like to thank him. My garden club once a month goes to Conservation 2020 Parks. We thoroughly enjoy it. We have a service that we do called Trash Off Trails. We go and pick up litter in the parks. So I don't know anybody that is not in favor of having this done. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Marcia Ellis, followed by Pam Chaplow, excuse me.
Thank you, Marcia Ellis, for the record. I think the characteristics of this property have been covered very well. However, I want to point out some things that haven't been called out. So in the recent zoning actions, this property has been referred to as a place that has sadly dying wetlands. That's so hurtful when you think about an ecosystem on this scale dying. And so I thank you so much for considering keeping the integrity of those wetlands alive in perpetuity. I also want to point out that the alignment of this property with the evaluation criteria to look at water quality is so important. There's the drainage conveyance with the ditch, the potential for compensatory storage, potential also as a prominent feature in a future BMAP to look at the basin management plan, as well as something that hasn't been mentioned, which is the open space benefit to ensure that we have a future water supply in this area. Because we have existing legal users, many of who are present here in the room, that rely upon their domestic self-supply wells. And so the wise stewardship to make sure that we have enough open space to keep their permitted use, which they're guaranteed for the life of their permit to be both of the same quantity and quality, is important. And I applaud the foresight that has been shown. Also want to echo the sentiment on the gopher tortoises, which are a keystone species, including providing habitat for the endangered indigo snake, as well as many, I'm trying to remember how many, 350 other species of animals live in these gopher tortoise burrows. Currently, there's no space in Lee County. Our gopher tortoises are going up to Arcadia or Polk County, and there has been a lot of concern for losing potentially those Lee County bloodlines. And so I very much appreciate the idea of having those recipient sites, keeping our gophers here in Lee County. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Pam Chaplow, followed by Sarah Fisher. Thank you. Pam Chaplow indicated that she's in support and yielded her time. Thank you, ma'am. Sarah Fisher. Sarah Fisher, the same. She acknowledged that she's yielding her time and indicated support for this item. Sarah Wilkies. Sandra, excuse me. Thank you very much. Please note that Sandra Wilkies indicated she supports it and has yielded her time as well. Kara Alfaro, followed by Shane Parker. Thank you, ma'am. Please note that Kara Alfaro indicated support and has yielded her time also. Thank you, ma'am. Shane Parker. Mr. Parker has done the same. He's indicated support and waved his hands accordingly. Thank you, sir. Holly Schwartz. I think Holly's in the other room, and there's a delay for this transmission to get over there, so we'll pass by her for just a minute. But Holly, if you'd like to indicate what you'd like to do, let us know, because she's got to come from the other room. The same with Lisa Grant, who's in the green room as well. Oh, she's here. Okay. Deborah Felder. Eric Felder, excuse me, sir.
Derek Felder for the record. I'm the Vice President of the Eastleigh Wildlife Stewardship Group. In favor of the acquisition of this property. Would love to see this be a county gopher tortoise recipient site for our there's many other endangered wildlife that's on this property from what I'm told. I believe there's also used to be some equestrian trails near or around this property. So maybe in the future this could be made into some kind of a equestrian trail park type thing to bring that back into this area. As the Buckingham area, I think, is a horse and cattle type area and community. And if you can do something with the water quality and storage, to help prevent flooding for the area, that'd be good too. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Grant, Lisa Grant, followed by Holly Schwartz. I'm not sure if Holly's here, but I'll read what her card says if she isn't able to appear.
Good evening.
Please go forward.
Thank you so much for everybody coming out. My name is Lisa Grant. I live in Buckingham as well. I appreciate you considering us for the 2020 conservation. Bing! Did I win the prize? Anyway, thank you so much for the consideration. We love our property out there, and we really want to see it preserved. Many, many species, of course, you can hear us all talk about what we love about the area. But my parents always told me, if you don't speak up, you will never be heard, and I want to be heard. So I appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Holly Schwartz just appeared at the door, waved her hand in support, and waves her time. Please let the record reflect that. Matthew Hunt. Matthew Hunt.
I'd like to nominate the property for the 2020, and we thank you all for opening it. We hope that you would receive it and nominate it so it could be further studied for the water conveyance, water quality, and the wildlife that's there. It borders is excessive during the rains. My kids love it. They want to play in it all the time, but it is a key feature to that property, and we'd love to see it saved, and we'd love to see that area preserved and the actual uses and the potential impact it could have for the county and for our area and for our rural community saved. So I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. That's the last card that I have. Would anyone else who has not filled out a card care to come and speak at this time? Well, come on up, sir, if you'd like to speak. Even though I don't have your card, please identify your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Philippe Maillard, and I distribute some presentation for you. You should have 4 pages. On the first page is pretty straightforward. Is your map with the connection of in purple, the FPL. And you have on the side some picture of in the last 3 days. I don't know if you see, we have a lot of rain last week, and this is what the lot look like after the rain. As you can see unfortunately I was trying to send electronic, but So you can see the picture is completely flooded. All the flat land you see is flooded, especially where you have the electric pole. And you can see what everybody calls the ditch on the side. Actually, if you go to the page 2, second page, I review your criteria of validation. If you look, you have 20 acres who are from the National Wetland Inventory. So they are already labeled by, sorry, I need to put my glasses. They already have FLUCFSC designation, and half of them are Class Zone E3, or Environment Management, and half of them are E4, who are Living Environment. So you can see this is already, if you go to the National Wetland Inventory, it's already classified. Also, well, we already talked a little bit about the tortoise, as you have only two locations. But if you look on the bottom right, middle picture, you can see this is a location who has mark, and you can see Lehigh and Buckingham have a lot of tortoise who need a location relocated. If you go to the third page, you can see actually the ditch have a name already. According to Lee County, it's called the State-owned Drainage Way, and you can see you go from the preserve area where you have the catchment reservoir inside to the preserve, and that transforms the water from that location, from the 6 Mile Cypress, all the way to the Orange River County. Okay. And if you go, sorry, I need to rush a little bit. So that is what I have. If you look on page 4, you can see this property is the last classed suburb county. The rest of Buckingham is class preserve. So you have, it's the last piece we need for finish that area. Oh, sorry. And you have the last page.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that, and for the handouts as well. Would anyone else care to address the committee? If so, please come forward and identify yourself. Sir? All right, thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Hi, my name is Lauren Hunt. I say we're so excited about this property coming to 2020. There's pretty much most of us have been through this journey over the last year and a half, coming and speaking to the commissioners, and this is probably the best outcome we could have hoped for. So I live right off the corner of this. We love coming through in the morning, taking the kids to school, seeing the sunrise and seeing the sunset. I know there's been lots of panther sightings around the area, as well as a bunch of other animals that that call this area home. So as my husband said, we do have the waterway that flows through, and this last week was intense, to say the least. That ditch, which we lovingly call our creek, that our kids love, and it went from bone dry to all the way up over the banks and overflowing. So we're excited that will be preserved and continue that not only along this property, but also along our home as well. So we really hope that you guys vote this in today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me ask for a show of hands of who's in support of this. Okay. I kind of thought that might be the case. Otherwise, you guys all coordinated wardrobes really well. Would anyone else care to speak to the committee? Please come forward at this time. Sir, please come forward.
My name is Stephen Sapp. I support the Conservation 2020 acquiring the property. And what I would love to see is those two top portions be made more natural like the rest of the property is over the years, and bring it all natural, because we live in an area where it just seems they want to wipe out all our trees, and every day you see trees get cut down. So it'd be nice to bring up the whole property more natural if that's possible.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else care to speak? Please come forward. I think I see one hand there. Ma'am, please come forward and identify yourself by name, and the floor is yours.
My name is Vicki McCorder. My husband and I built our house in 1984. We live on Williamson Road, which is a stone's throw from where this property is. And in the 40 years we've lived there, we've seen a very big decline in the wildlife that lives there. I see bobcats regularly, and they travel through that whole wooded area from the other side and go in through the woods and make their way down to Orange River and turn around and go back up. The wooded land that's to the right of where the blue line is, I would be grateful if 2020 would also consider that property, because that's where these animals are coming from. I've seen coyote, wild pigs. We've got all kinds of birds. I've got records of birds that I see on a regular basis that migrate or live there permanently. And it would be awesome if we could acquire this land and the land that's being proposed.
Thank you very much for your comments. Would anyone else? All right, we're violating the rules there, guys. If we could, anyone else like to speak, come forward, please. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment at this time. Questions or comments by anyone on the committee?
I'd just like to state I need to recuse myself from voting on this nomination due to conflict of interest.
You'll need to file an appropriate form with the minister. You have that. Okay, very good. Thank you very much for advising us of that. Any other comments or questions before we move forward? All right, we're ready to entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to send this to acquisition.
Motion by Ms. Andrus. Do we have a second? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Robin. Do we have any other comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. And that carries unanimously. All right. Okay.
We didn't hear you. The second was run. I'm sorry. Thank you, Chris.
Mr. Robin there. Excuse me, I didn't call that out well. Thank you guys for attending tonight. Next item on our agenda is staff items. Give us an update on management of the 2020 properties. Y'all may want to stay around and listen to all the activities, or at least a snippet of some of the activities that the county has been doing on 2020 lands. Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, that's really delayed. Did you hear that? That was really delayed.
Chairman, if we could please give a moment until our...
We will. We will.
Took about a minute for you to get out of the room.
People criticize.
They don't care about that. They want us to buy.
Thank you. You want me to see that?
Robert, that land to the south, to the left of the power easement, can we buy that land? I thought we made a commercial with you last.
Folks, if I may ask, anyone that's going to remain, please be courteous. We'll give a few more seconds for folks to get out that are wishing to leave.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're going to give a report on some of the preserves, some of the work that we've been doing. 24 acres exotic plant control project completed at Bowditch Point Regional Park Preserve. 59 acres exotic plant control project completed at Matanzas Pass Preserve. 108 acres exotic plant control projects completed at Deep Lagoon Preserve. Exotic plant control project started at Caloosahatchee Creek Preserve, 290 acres. The board approved that in April 2nd of 24. Exotic plants control project started 4 Mile Cove Preserve, 180 acres. Board approved that in May 7th of 2024. 265 acres exotic plant control started at Gulf Preserve. 62 acres exotic control project started at St. James Creek Preserve. 307 acres exotic plant control project started at Harp Ash Creek Preserve. And we also had some fence repairs projects started at Powell Creek Preserve. Fence installation project started at Oak Creek Preserve. Staff is working on with utilities and FP&L potential to install an automatic gate at 6 Mile Cypress Slough Preserve. We've been having some vandalism going on in that area, so we're going to put up a gate there to stop some of that activity. Restoration project being planned at St. Carlos Bay Beach Preserve to repair dune systems from Hurricane Ian storm surge in partnership with FGCU. A volunteer workday hosted by Wild Turkey Strand Preserve removing trash. Guided walk led by Daniels Preserve at Spanish Creek for National Trails Day on June 1st. A volunteer cleanup plan for Matanzas Pass Preserve on July 6th. Trails are very wet with the recent rainfall this week. Social media has been working on advertising where trails are underwater and boardwalks are closed for safety concerns.
That's it. Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Young? Ms. Sanders?
Yesterday, the commissioners had a workshop on the budget, and on the 2020 management, we went from 5 million to 3 million, and we've gotten more property. Why would they cut the budget to manage the properties?
This is just a class flow situation that we monitor daily. Nothing's been cut. The work is still being done. It will get done. We never had anything deferred from the work that's done at the preserve. So, and money does overflow. We carry it over to the next year. It's monitored daily, so the work will get done.
Okay, and I see nothing for the Larry Kiker Preserve or the Natural Resources or 2020 land acquisition money. Nothing. What?
The money's there. It's not going anywhere.
But there's, I have it right here. There's nothing planned for it.
I can get a report and update you on it in the next meeting if you need that.
Okay.
The balance of the acquisition fund is about $40 million right now.
But I understand the acquisition fund, but why would they cut the management? I mean, you know, with all the stuff that has to be done on these preserves, why would they cut that $2 million?
But it's not being cut, ma'am.
But on here it is.
It's not posted on that, but the money is there. It's always carried over. The work will get done. It's been done by our staff. It's been done.
Do we have a grant somewhere to make that up?
Yeah.
What it is they put all these projects out to bid, and what happens is a lot of times, by the time it gets to the contractor, sometimes they don't follow through. So what's happening is we're not able to use all the money in a year. So it gets carried over. So it's not, I promise you, anything we need for 2020 properties, we have it. That's one place we don't seem to have any problem at all, funding anything we need. So they are still getting it.
I think your concern, I'm sorry, Kathy, your concern is that it's not posted on that sheet.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. And we can.
And we only have 40 million for acquisition?
There's a little more than 40 million at this particular time, yes.
Okay, I thought we were supposed to keep it above that.
It says, I think the ordinance references 40 million.
Okay, are they going to try to come up with more money for that? Because we're getting properties coming in that, I mean, this kind of property that just came in is a nice chunk of big land. And so if we get any more big chunks of land, are we going to have the money?
We would be going to, well, say we have 40 million, something like this is going to take us a few months to get through anyway. So, you know, we start looking at new fiscal year financing. So as we get through and the fund does go down, then they reevaluate the amount of money that we have in the acquisition fund. But at this time, we've been sitting on 40 million for several years. It's just because the marketplace has been such, developers haven't been coming to us, our property owners haven't been coming to the county, they've been going to developers. And this is a voluntary program, so, you know, we do solicit people to bring their properties to us, but we haven't acquired a whole lot in the last couple of years because of what's been going on in the open market.
Dedicated, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
But it's such that if we were able to acquire properties and that fund is depleted, then they replenish the fund and get it up to a certain level as
as that becomes necessary.
As it comes down, they'll start bringing it up in the, future budgets.
It's one of the things that we're dedicated to doing, just making sure the preserves are taken care of. It won't go untaken care of.
Any further questions?
Once the exotics take over, you got a big problem. And if you're not doing the burning and.
Yeah, we do. The staff is on top of it daily.
Well, I think there were a number of exotic control projects that Mr. Young outlined a minute ago. There's probably 12 of them or so. So it's a valid point. You got to stay on top of that. Right. Any other comments or questions, staff?
It's not about this, but I asked Robert this, and Renee, I don't know because Karen and I are the only ones that have been around long enough. At one point in time, did we pass a motion to allow staff to go after properties?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Because again, as we were looking at this, I asked Robert, there's some properties that, again, they brought up that we have to be able to, again, I don't know how we do that, and I'm asking county attorney and anyone to explain, do we have to direct you guys to do that, or can you do that on your own?
There's nothing in the ordinance. I already gave instructions to Renee to remind me tomorrow.
Okay.
And work on it.
Perfect.
If there's a property that somebody sees that they wish to have or have an interest in, we can address that.
Well, the one I pointed out south of this property that we're looking at, that if we're going to really truly run water and run it into the slough and be able to clean it, that would next piece that would actually connect you almost all the way, except for what you have to go north for. So that's why I was asking that question.
I don't think there's anything in the ordinance that would prevent it
Nothing.
currently. I mean, I don't know that that's expressly stated, but there's nothing to prevent that from occurring.
I don't think there ever was. I think it was
definitely
committee
talked about.
direction and stuff. There was never really something that said either way. It was always a voluntary program. So if a party that didn't own the land wanted it to get nominated, what we had told them in the past was they may request that of that property owner to nominate it. Staff wasn't necessarily doing it in the past for perception that it was more valuable than it may have been financially. Quite often what happens is people don't understand that the value of property, the more wet it is, the more pristine the property is, the less the financial value of the property is. And what we had many years ago was individuals may go out to a property owner and try to express to them, hey, this is really valuable to the county, which it is, but the dollar amount of it wasn't real high. So if you look at a Cypress Head, it's very hard to get development rights on that. So the market value is low. Anyhow, the short answer is yes, we may do so, and we have been doing so, specifically in the Crew area.
Well, I think Mr. Spring mentioned the parcel, and one of the speakers talked about a parcel adjacent to the one we just looked at out in Buckingham, which is, I might want to send a note to.
Yeah, well,
and you said you already talked to Renee about that.
And again, we're good at saying no if the price is too high. We've done that before.
Valid point. Yeah. Any more comments by staff? Excuse me, by the committee? Members of the public, thank you guys for staying for a couple of reasons. One, we appreciate your participation, but I think it's important to hear Mr. Young's report on all the things that the county is doing on 2020 lands, because there has been criticism in the past that, well, you guys aren't managing this stuff. Well, yes, they are. And there's a number of projects going on. And Karen, thank you for the discussion about the budget issue. And I think staff explained that we have funds left over from prior years that we're rolling into, so we didn't need as much this year to accomplish the work program. So there's a lot that's being done. So if you would do us a little favor, tell those folks who left that, hey, you missed something. There's a lot happening, and the county is on top of it. And County Lands is addressing these needs and spending the appropriate time and energy to accomplish those. So if you would, please pass that out. It'd do us a big favor here. All right, any other business that needs to come before us from the committee or any other reason? Oh, yeah, I got the last public comment. I hadn't got there yet, but go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead, you're up there.
Thank you. Marcia Ellis, and I just want to follow up because, like Derek, I'm with the Eastleigh Wildlife Stewardship Group, and we have formed to address wildlife in Eastleigh. With right now, there's a lot of focus on the gopher tortoises, and recently our group wrote a grant, which we're waiting on the status of that, and we have heard the FWC Colonel Roger, who spoke over at the Colusa Nature Center just last week or the week before. The gopher tortoise management plan, the state plan, is it's expired, and right now it's under review. That's important because we understand that there's no more space over at Gator Hole, and we would like to get some more update information about the status of the gopher tortoises here in Lee County and coordinate with whoever, natural resources, whoever we need to coordinate with, because he has stated that we're not just restricted to giving public comment for that short open period of time when the official gopher tortoise management plan gets released to the public. So we want to go ahead and start to weigh in more on the gopher tortoises, the permitting gap for parcels under 5 acres, the status of the species, with as much specificity as we can get in coordination and to supplement those efforts that are underway. And I'm sure that the CLASAC committee would also benefit from having some of this information, since we have sites that have gopher tortoise populations, are under consideration for gopher tortoise placement, opportunity for WAIF sites as well. So I would just like to just suggest and say there could be a lot of public benefit if we could get some updated information on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Marcia Ellis.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public care to comment? Not from your seat. You've got to come up to the. And we don't usually engage in a back and forth discussion. You can make comments, and if necessary, staff will respond. But this isn't an open dialogue back and forth. Yes, sir.
I'll make my statement, and you guys can maybe tell us what is the procedure for getting a property nominated for the 2020. I heard you guys having a discussion about it, but I'd like to know more about that, what we can do, because there are some other properties that convey to the river from the one that is up for the 2020 nomination. So I'll stick around and see what I can to find out that information. Matthew Hunt, sorry. Thank you.
In general, the property has to be nominated by the property owner. If there's a property you think is of interest, you can contact that property owner and see if they're willing to nominate it. They're on our website, on the county's website, there is a drop-down area that says Conservation 2020. If you click on that, it'll give you a link to the application and contact information to County Lands, and Renee, who's taking notes back there as well, will distribute that to the requester. If there's something you may send us an email, we'll take a look at it. If they're Lehigh acre lots, we're not looking at something like that. If you look at the criteria and ranking sheet that was attached to the subject property y'all were interested in, you can see how we scored the properties. So small tracts of land that are isolated aren't going to score well and probably aren't going to be recommended for being forwarded. It's these larger tracts like 650, which are the ones that are attractive, and if there's something adjacent to it, then that may add to it. So that's kind of, in general, how we're looking and scoring the properties.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, please go forward.
Cheryl Fisher. My question is, because we were addressed at another meeting about the property owner has to come to you. I'm just curious because I'm a realtor. A lot of line for sale. Is there anybody in your group that actively looks at these and say, wow, that would be a good one? I mean, they're for sale, so
we do.
That's what I'm curious about. Unless they come to you, do you not even look at them, or you don't have somebody actively looking for parcels that are for sale?
Well, as Mr. Clemens has mentioned a couple times, it's a willing seller program, so we're not out in the marketplace trying to compete with people to buy property. That's not, I don't believe, was the intent of the ordinance overall with the willing seller aspect. However, as Mr. Clemens indicated a minute ago, if something is brought to their attention, they'll take a look and perhaps contact that landowner if it makes sense. So what I would suggest on there, you send a note to the office and perhaps they may follow up on that depending on the nature of it.
Chair.
So, you know, a little bit of help, if you will, from the public is certainly appreciated. Mr. Sun, wait, are you finished with your comments, ma'am? Thank you. Mr. Sun?
Just a question for staff. There are properties that staff is looking at or know that there may be future desire or need for, and they're constantly monitoring the status of those properties, correct?
Correct. In general, in county lands, we don't just deal with Conservation 2020. We deal with all the needs of the county. That's from county DOT, natural resources. So we're constantly monitoring properties. Today we were just looking at some for public safety. So we're constantly monitoring what's listed on websites and such for potential county uses.
Thank you. Any other comments by the committee? I am remiss in not welcoming and thanking Amanda Swindle for joining us on behalf of the County Attorney's Office. I should have done that first thing. So add that to the list of things that I've fumbled, including mispronunciations and everything else tonight. But welcome, and we enjoy having you. Thank you very much for coming.
Glad to be here.
If there are any, if there are any other items, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is July 17th at 5:30 in the same location. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
We have a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay, and we're adjourned. Thank you, guys.